Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast. You've probably heard this song already. It is #1 on the iTunes download list. Now for the second time, it's beating out artists like Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, and even Taylor Swift. It's Fighter by Jon Kahn. And Jon is here with us, the Minister of Culture over at Breitbart.com. Jon Kahn, welcome to my podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, how awesome is it to have a hit single? I mean, I've sang in my car for 50 years, and I've always dreamed of this moment. And apparently,
well, Ed, you can join me on stage if that's the case.
I don't think you necessarily want a mediocre baritone behind you there, my friend. But hey, it's a great song. And look, I mean, I think that a lot of people have been inspired by Donald Trump and to do different things, you know, to create art in different ways. This is actually not just, you know, an inspiration sort of thing. It's a really good song on its own. First off, it's a very good song. And the person who told me about it was John Ondrasik, who is the lead singer for Five for Fighting. He's a friend of mine. Said, "Oh, you got to talk to John. This is great." So when you're getting kudos like that, man, it's pretty cool.
Well, John's an amazing guy and an amazing songwriter. And he's been very supportive of this song, and I'm super grateful to him. We were both very close with Andrew Breitbart. Yep. So the fact that John has gotten behind this song and we've reconnected over it, and you know, it just is very meaningful given that we were both so close with Andrew.
Well, I mean, Andrew was a friend of mine too, not as close, I think, as you were, but yeah, friend, sometimes a debate partner, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Andrew was like. He's passionate about everything.
I know. He's very inspirational for me to release this song.
Yeah,
and you know, because he used to have this expression or a quote I think I read one time where he said, you know, "I'll take the slings and arrows so people don't have to." Yep. And in no way am I taking slings and arrows, but that type of sentiment, particularly in this very difficult political landscape where people are so entrenched, it definitely gave me a lot of courage to release this song and just say, look, this is what I believe, and hopefully other people will respond to it.
What was the specific inspiration? I mean, was it the assassination attempt in July, or was this just something?
Actually, not. Actually, it wasn't. People think it was in response to the first assassination attempt. This song was actually written before. And the moment that it occurred to me is it was after the New York case and after that bogus conviction. And I was sitting on the couch watching the news and shaking my head. And I watched him walk up to the podium to address the press after they've thrown impeachments at him and deplatformed him from social media and a wall of hate from the left and lawfare and a raid on Mar-a-Lago and all these things. And I watched him walk up to that podium with that gait and that confidence that says, you know what, is this all you got? Because I'm not stopping. And I just kind of shook my head and I went, man, is this guy a fighter? And I went over to my piano. I don't know how to play it very well, but I mustered up a few chords, came up with a melody and a few lyrics, and I brought it to Nashville where I finished the song with an amazing writer named Chris Wallen, who's written songs for Toby Keith and Kenny Chesney and Trace Atkins, among others. So it was a pretty special writing session for sure.
Well, no kidding, but also production. I mean, this is a class A production level type of thing. So, and that doesn't come cheap. I mean, I know it's a little easier these days to do that independently than it used to be, but it's still not cheap. There's a lot of investment in that. And you know, I just was refreshing my memory right before you came on. I was playing it through the YouTube channel and just really amazed at how well done this song is for an independent.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to Chris. You know, we talked about, you know, that rally in Butler where the assassination attempt happened, and when he put his fist in the air and said fight, and we had this song written, I got goosebumps. I called Chris and said, we have to get this produced. And we talked about what we wanted it to feel like. And cinematic was kind of the word we kept going back to. And Chris produced it in Nashville, and the players in Nashville are so phenomenal that you give them a direction, you let them go, and you tinker with it here and there. But I was so happy when I heard it for the first time.
Oh, John Sebastian wrote a song called Nashville Cats about the pickers in Nashville. And that was, what, 60 years ago? I mean, 50 years ago. And you're right. I mean, it's one of the most creative places possible in music. And so it just sounds great. Were you surprised at how much this caught on, how quickly this caught on? Because am I correct that this was just released about 4 weeks ago?
It was about 2.5 weeks ago. I am very surprised by it.
Yeah. Okay. So I assumed it was out for a while.
Well, no. I mean, every time you write a song, you hope it reaches somebody. And in this case, we're really grateful that it's reached so many. President Trump embraced the song and put it on social media. They're playing it at rallies now. And I think that, there was an evolution to how we were looking at the song. It was about President Trump. It was inspired by President Trump. And then as we began to think about it, we realized it wasn't just for him. It was for all of his supporters, and that are fighting their own way, in their own ways alongside him. And then even broader than that, if you just make it more generalized, everybody, life isn't easy, and everybody's got their daily fights, whether it be financial or illness or abuse or relationships or whatever it is that they're going through. And, if this song reaches a few people and says, get up off the mat and keep swinging, it'll be all right, then that's a reward in and of itself.
I mean, you just have to be a little surprised that a guy who's got all the resources that Donald Trump has is still taking the punches and still swinging, when it would be and he said this before too, be very easy for him to just go back to Mar-a-Lago. People would forget about him and they would leave him alone, and he could enjoy his wealth and play golf, for the rest of his days. But he is clearly passionately still engaged here. And I think that that's another big aspect of the fighter aspect, is that he just doesn't want to let it go. He feels too passionately about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, and that's why, I think that we kind of owe it to him, his supporters, to get out there and knock on doors and make phone calls. And, if I contributed a little bit with this song, that makes me very happy. We utilize the tools that we have at our disposal. And if he's going to do it, and like you said, he doesn't have to, but if he's going to do it, then I think we kind of owe that to him.
So, John, I mean, you wrote the song about Trump. You did the video about Trump. I'm sure that you knew it was going to come to his attention. Were you surprised at his reaction and how much he embraced this?
Very much so. I mean, it's the whole thing is very surreal, Ed. I'm not going to lie. I mean, look, when you see anything start to go viral, you think, okay, well, I've hit a chord. But when you see, hopefully, the next president of the United States and a former president embrace it to that degree, like, I don't even know that it's registered yet. And I'm just super grateful that it reached him.
Well, and really, I mean, honestly, the hits still keep on coming a little bit, right? Because this thing immediately went to #1 on iTunes, and now it's back at #1 on iTunes, and it's at #1 on Billboard's digital sales, right? Back at the top slot.
I think it debuted #4 the first week on the Billboard Digital things, which we missed. We didn't even see that happened until somebody said, we didn't. I mean, I think we were just trying to get the song out there. And then on Monday, a friend of mine from Nashville goes, "Hey, by the way, I think you're #1 on the digital Billboard charts tomorrow." And I went, "What?" And, and I was like, are you messing with me? He was a friend of mine, so it could have easily been a ruse of some sort. But sure enough, we woke up the next morning, it was #1, and we were just blown away by it. And we'll see what happens next week. I mean, it's not going to live there forever, but just hitting that number is pretty awesome.
I was going to say, I mean, that's bucket list type of thing, right? Write a song, hit #1. That's for a lot of people, that's a career. Now, you've been doing this for a while, but I mean, for a lot of people, that's a career.
Well, look, I have been doing this for a while. I've been writing songs for, I don't know, close to 30 years. And I've had some good fortune. I've had some songs in film and TV. I wrote a song called American Heart that I played with Andrew during the Tea Party movement. But to be honest, I never dreamed that like you said, it's a bucket list kind of thing. And I never thought I would check that box, but I'm super grateful that we have.
Well, God bless you, Jon. I mean, it's just awesome to see that kind of success for you and for everything that you're doing. And success sometimes breeds more success, right? So I guess the first question I want to ask about that is, has this opened up any other opportunities for you?
Well, I think, I'm focused really on getting the song out there as much as I can before November, because I think it paints President Trump in a light that the media, the mainstream media, is trying so hard to deny. So that's my number one priority. Yeah, there have been some interesting phone calls and whatnot, and I'm thinking about what song is next. And, but again, my focus is on November. I'll deal with that later. I think November is the most crucial time for everybody.
Okay, so as a music fan, I got to ask a couple of music fan, geeky questions, like the stupid questions, right? So,
okay. All right, let's do it.
All right. Obviously, we know that that you get emotionally inspired to write songs, and I think that that's true for most songwriters. What is it that you're looking for when you're trying to write a song? I mean, do you start with the lyrics? Do you start with the hook? Do you start with the inspiration, or is it just depend on what the situation is?
Well, I usually start with depression. That's usually the first step. No, but I think
good answer.
It's 78% true, Ed. But it's for me, like I've been writing a lot in Nashville, and they write kind of an opposite way from the way I normally write, and they generally start with the hook, the lyric, what's the song about. I need to sort of usually, I'm not a trained musician, I'm self-taught. And so I usually pick up guitar or sit at the piano and try to come up with a melody that I like that moves me to sing. And if I land on something that I feel like I want to sing, then I start thinking about how it makes me feel and what the song could be about.
So in this case, though, it was sort of the other way around. It was really the inspiration, and it worked out very well for you this time.
Yeah.
Is this an easy process for you? Is this something that comes naturally to you, or is this something that I mean, I know you work at it. Nobody who does anything well doesn't work at it. But I'm curious as to, is this something that you feel is just one of those gifts that has been given to you through the Holy Spirit, or if this is just something that you just really wanted to pursue?
I think that I feel very fortunate enough to be able to sing and play music and feel music. So in that way, yes to that. But it all depends on the song. And there's kind of an accepted theory that if you wrestle with the song too much, it's usually not the right one. If it comes easily, it's usually something that connects. And I could say that the songs that I've put out that I feel like most people connect with have been ones that I wrote very quickly, because they did come from something emotional or deeper or something I wasn't overthinking.
That's a really interesting answer. And I think, that's maybe pretty good advice for anybody who's working in anything, is that sometimes the most effective things that you can do come from inspiration and not the overthinking and not over intellectualizing. And look, I know I got to let you go, Jon, but why don't you give us a couple of links where people can find you, and we'll get this. We'll get you on your way to your next commitment.
I love it. Thank you, Ed. You can find me on Instagram at Jon Kahn Music, and that's JONKAHN, or Mr. John David. Again, no H in the John, at Twitter, and there you go.
Breitbart.com, right? You're still working with Breitbart.com?
I'm still the Minister of Culture over there, and trying to carry on Andrew's legacy as best I can.
Amen, brother. Jon Kahn, thank you so much. Best of luck to you. We're going to have to do this some other time too, talk more about your music, more about what's going on. But thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Ed, thanks so much for having me. That was fun.